Hello and welcome to the JIT-TVzw News Bulletin, where we bring you daily news, information, current affairs, business and investment, as well as finance and what is happening in the world of stock markets and global economics. Entertainment is our business, news on multiple platforms for all Zimbabweans, all Africans on one channel. Zitarangu Ndinonzi Denise Pine, the time is here, isikati sifikile. Here are the news headlines. A top funeral services provider, JIT-TVzw, faces fraud allegations after duping both the Harare City Council and the family of a deceased by conducting botched burials. A global cocoa giant, Nestlé, redoubles its efforts to tackle child labor practices on the continent amid new plans to support farmers through sustainable cocoa production. Africa Cup of Nations reaches the business end of the tournament as Cameroon, Egypt, Burkina Faso and Senegal all book their spots in the last four. In your leading story this hour, JIT-TVzw funeral services allegedly stuffed blankets and plastic bags inside the coffin meant to have carried the remains of the late Maxwell Chimamurombe in the latest twist in the burial saga of the Nyanga resident who died in March last year. A fresh report reveals that Chimamurombe's remains were instead buried in Harare inside the coffin that had the body of a pauper whose funeral was paid for by the Harare City Council. However, JIT-TVzw had delivered the coffin to the Chimamurombe family in Nyanga and they received it in the belief that it contained the remains of their relative. The funeral services company now faces 2 accounts of fraud for duping Harare City Council by burying 2 corpses in the same vault and for failing to offer expected services to the policyholder who was paying her premiums. According to a leaked police memo, JIT-TVzw later realized the mix-up, but instead of correcting the mistake, the company buried Chimamurombe's corpse at Glenview Cemetery under the pauper's burial, and National Police spokesperson Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati confirmed the validity of the police memo. According to the memo, the remains were exhumed and taken to a Villa Mission Hospital mortuary where they were examined by Dr. Javangwe. It was discovered that there were no human remains in the coffin, but there was a plastic bag with a blanket, another plastic bag with 2 tent body bags, and one with a trousers, a shirt, and a white cloth, which were all wrapped in the blanket. Meanwhile, stakeholders in the funeral services and assurance sector say that they are studying the case amid indications that JIT-TVzw could face further sanctions. Maxwell Chimamurombe drowned in the flooded Nyamombe River in Nyanga last year, and his body could not be found for weeks. When he was discovered, the body had some parts scattered on the riverbank, and the remains were reportedly collected in a plastic bag and sent to Harare for JIT-TVzw for them to prepare for a burial. In other news this hour, concern has been raised in Zambia over cases of more than 100 newborn babies lost weekly in the country due to errors in labor and delivery procedures, including stillbirths. Zambia Health Minister Sylvia Masebo says the country also loses 10 to 15 women weekly to preventable maternal causes, and these recorded deaths can be avoided through the provision of safe and quality skilled health professionals. Speaking on the World Patient Safety Day at the University Teaching Hospital, Masebo says patient safety is fundamental to delivering quality essential health services. However, Zambia has a maternal mortality rate of around 272 over 100,000 live births and a neonatal mortality of 27 over 100,000. Adding to that, Musaku Mwenechanya, senior medical superintendent at the hospital, also reveals that the country has the capacity to reverse the trend given adequate personnel and healthcare supplies as well as equipment. He further mentions that the Children's Hospital at the Teaching Hospital, for instance, has been unable to acquire the required essentials due to inadequate funding, and nothing has been done despite rising mortality rates for many years. Coming up next is the JIT TV Business News.
When I travel far and wide, I'm always searching for an easy way to get things in one place. It's right here, it is at your fingertips. This is it. Check it out, it's got it all. Gateway Street. A lifestyle like no one that let you know. Get it all, get it now, all in one experience. This is it. Gateway
Gateway Stream. The future is here now. Download the app from Google Play and Apple App Store. Gateway Stream, a subsidiary of the Rainbow Tourism Group.
In your leading business news this hour, the question is taking a look at the struggling economy in Zimbabwe. What do you think the government can do to have an economic revival? Oxfam Southern Africa reveals that Zimbabwe could raise more than 65 million a year through annual wealth tax, enough to increase public health expenditure by 21%. According to its report, there's only one billionaire in Zimbabwe, and that's Dr. Strive Masiwa, who is the founder and executive chairperson of the international technology group Econet Global, whose wealth increased 94.9% during the pandemic. It further says that if an annual wealth tax at a rate of 5% applied to the wealth of the richest person in the country would raise 65 million a year. Therefore, a more progressive wealth tax would raise more than $130 million, with rates at 10% on wealth over $1 billion. Hence, calls for the government around the world to introduce wealth tax on the wealthiest individuals is going louder. However, a coalition of 18 lobby groups under the banner of the Zimbabwe Fight Inequality Alliance has been urging the government to introduce wealth tax to address economic inequality and development deficits, citing that Zimbabwe has a taxation system which penalizes the poor and vulnerable. Adding to that, the Zimbabwe Coalition on Debt and Development also reveals that the consolidation of wealth and economic power in the hands of a few economic and political elite in the country has over the years facilitated the massive transfer of public wealth and economic opportunities in the hands of the few. As a result, public wealth and economic opportunities are pocketed by 10% of Zimbabweans at the expense of the majority 90% of citizens who are struggling to put food on the table. Hence, the louder cries for the government to start considering introduction of wealth tax. In other business news, a Nestle company announces a new plan to tackle child labor risks in Ghana and Ivory Coast cocoa production with an innovative income accelerator program, which aims to improve the livelihoods of cocoa farming families while also advancing regenerative agriculture practices and gender equality. A cash incentive will be paid directly to cocoa farming households for certain activities, such as enrollment of children in school and pruning, among several others. The company's new plan also supports its work to transform its global sourcing of cocoa to achieve full traceability and segregation for its cocoa products. According to Mauricio Alcorn, market head of Nestle Central and West Africa, child labor is unacceptable, and the company is committed to working closely with key stakeholders to ensure that this novel approach will help address its root causes and support farmers and their families to transition to more sustainable cocoa farming. With Nestle's new approach, cocoa farming families will be rewarded not only for the quantity and quality of cocoa beans they produce, but also for the benefits they provide to the environment and local communities. These incentives are on top of the premium introduced by the government of Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana that Nestle pays, and the premiums Nestle offers for certified cocoa. This cocoa is independently audited against the Rainforest Alliance, a sustainable agriculture standard, promoting the social, economic, and environmental well-being of farmers and local communities. And this brings us to the end of the JIT-TV Business News Bulletin. Coming up next is JIT-TV Sports and Entertainment News.
Singing show 18, 18, MOA 18. Tripia mi pume Italy, as born, song, yeah. Singing show 18, 18, MOA 18. Tripia mi pume Italy.
It's the JIT experience, guys. This is the JIT experience.
Oh, yeah. Song, yeah. Singing show 18, 18, MOA 18.
And welcome back to JIT Television Sports and Entertainment News. In your sports news this hour, let's get details of what transpired in Cameroon over the weekend with Toko Kambi. Despite the referee somehow not spotting the foul, VAR insisted on the pitch side wanted to check, and the spot kick was duly given. Sofiane Boufal confidently rattling home to the penalty for a third goal of the tournament. However, Salah found the equalizer just minutes after the restart, tapping home from close range after an initial header was saved and parried back out to him before Egyptian fans were able to break into celebration soon after extra time got underway. Salah this time was the creator, later to leaving two defenders with a rapid dribble off the right flank and laying a perfect cross along the 6-yard box for Trezeguet to slide home and send Egypt to the semi-finals. Burkina Faso won 1-0 against Tunisia, taking it to the semi-finals to play against Senegal, which won 3-1 against Equatorial Guinea. This leaves Egypt playing against Cameroon as the 4 remaining countries compete to be crowned the kings of the continent. This brings us to the end of your sports and entertainment news on JIT TV this hour. Coming up next is the JIT TV Weather Report. And this brings us to the end of the JIT Television News Bulletin this hour. Stay tuned to JIT TV as we bring you the best in entertainment news, information, analysis, sports, business, and all the headlines of the day. And stay in touch on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as on our website, www.jit-tv.tv, and leave a comment. My name is Denise Pine, and see you tomorrow, same time. Stay connected. Cheers.